All right, the 6 second mark should have appeared. Let's just do a quick confirmation check that everything looks good.
I'm still trying to find the broadcast here showing here. Hold on. Broadcasts, artwork, store, community, Gridiron. Broadcasts. No content ad, so sad. You can help share a screenshot of the video starting discussion. I don't see the stream.
Okay. It should be live. It might.
Live stream. Hold on, click there.
Yeah.
Live stream. That's the event. Live stream coming. Broadcast. It should be right over. Now it's there.
Okay. And is it showing up as formatted?
You should see this chat.
No, I don't have any access to that right now.
Oh, you don't see the chat?
No. I don't see anything of that. I have the OBS kind of covering everything up, and then Skype is covering everything else up.
So there's one viewer, it's probably me.
Yep. Okay.
Just dive in.
All right. Well, welcome to the live stream. In this live stream, we'll go over some of the basic concepts. The stream will be posted on the YouTube channel as well, and it will be indexed in terms of chapters and all of that, so that you can find topics that you're looking for. So, probably one of the first things that we're going to want to do for the purposes of the live chat, since there's already a bunch of basic tutorials in place, is go over some of what those basic tutorials don't cover but are important, namely in the league menu. Here in the league menu, we have the league management button. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your time when dealing with your teams and other management items. Okay, so here we have several menu buttons: file, schedule, draft, and about. With the about obviously giving you a browser to the help and tips, and the about giving you the about window. Let's go ahead and start with creating a league. When you first start the game, a default league is automatically generated for you. But let's just say we want to create a new league from scratch. We can click the Create League button. Then we'll come up with a name for the league. Let's just call it Tutorial FL. Give it a commissioner name. Now the next couple of fields do need to be filled out. However, these following fields down here, when we're setting up this league, essentially what we need to do is get the league name and the commissioner name, and the league and commissioner password for various different purposes. But then we're going to get down to some more of the customizability of your leagues. Right now we're supporting 2 conferences, each with 2 divisions. This is soon going to be increased, but the fields will simply fill out in the same manner. If you leave them blank, whichever's are left blank will be filled in with an automatically generated Greats of the Gridiron based conference name. So I'm going to leave these fields blank for right now. Also, for the moment right now, I'm going to go ahead and not worry about the PvP selection, but the game mode here is going to the league mode is essentially going to determine your general purpose of what that league is for. In a PvP, It's probably going to be more aimed towards one-off games, maybe casual games against somebody on message boards or your friends, where cumulative statistics with regards to season performance and contracting don't really play into your experience. Whereas the season mode is going to be more based on your franchises and keeping your stats based off of season play and playoff play and that general sort of situation. We have a couple more settings over here. Basically, these are currently disabled because they're hard coded in, but these will be changing soon to a 16 or 32, and then even further into that is the scheduling work in progress is completed, that you will be able to essentially have any number of teams that you like, and auto scheduling will be based off of that. Here we have the number of players. This you can set to any number above, obviously, well, when you're starting with 1, for example. And this is going to essentially tell you how many human or player-controlled teams there will be. So we'll just go ahead and leave this to 1 for right now. We'll hit the generate button, and this will give us a layout of the default teams that were used in the creation of this league and where we were placed as our TBD team, which I just clicked. So I can actually go ahead and give my team a name, but I'm going to leave this at TBD for the moment because it will give me the opportunity to show you how we can edit one of these teams after the fact. So at this point in time, we have all of our settings in here. We've hit the generate button. We've got all of our teams here. Our conferences and our divisions have been created. We can now hit the create button, and it gives us a little bit of an information on letting us know that we're about to create a league. So we'll hit the OK. We get the message that the new league has been created and open, and we can see here at the top that we've got the Tutorial FL open, as well as the GTOG Commissioner. And you know, we can also see here in the Open League dialog that we now have it. And we can either cancel out of here or we can reopen it. It just simply establishes a connection to the league database. So that's the basics, essentially, of creating a league. Very soon there will be a delete league button here. For the moment, I will make a post describing how to currently delete a league. There's already a post in the Steam message boards on that topic. All you really have to do is go to your Steam installation folder, go to the Greats of the Gridiron. There's a directory in there that I detail out in the post, but we will have a delete button, so within the next build or two, that's not going to be an issue. You will simply select it and then hit the delete button. Nevertheless, we can go ahead and we can reopen this, and now we are open into the Tutorial FL League. So when we come down the file menu, this is going to give us our higher level tasks. For example, managing teams, which if we click this and open it, we now have a list of all of the teams that are contained in this league. And again, you can add teams in here as you go along, so you can actually have quite a number of teams. You'll notice, aside from some of the obvious name, city, coach name columns, we have this status column. The status column is what is going to indicate whether or not that team is participating in the current season for that league. right now, you need to have 16 active teams in order to schedule a season. Again, this is going to be much more customizable here in the next several updates, as well as up to 32 teams that you would be able to auto schedule. So currently at this point we have we don't have the correct number of teams because we have we actually have the correct number of teams. What we have is a team that needs to be handled in terms of its creation process. So I'm going to select the TBD team here, and starting off with the edit button, click the edit button, and from here it opens up into the edit team window. This window you'll also be able to access through the coordinator's office to do a more limited version of team editing. But here the big difference is that you'll have your contracts, which will contain your signed players and then any pending players you have ready for signing from drafting or trading, and some of these other systems as they get put into place. But what we can do from here is simple editing of things like the team names, as well as by clicking on the helmet we can start editing some of the team colors. Hitting this dice will give us a random set of colors as well as a randomly selected emblem. So how are we doing? Have we got any questions so far?
Not yet, at least not in the chat room.
Okay. Continuing on, we can go ahead and hit accept to accept the changes, and we'll call these guys the miners, for example.
I want to explain that right now the colors.
Okay. So going into some of the team colors, we can paste in a HTML code that you can basically you can find yourself a color that you like on the internet and get a code for it, an HTML code, and simply type it or paste it in there. The FF on the end, you do not need to worry about adding that in there. It will automatically be added in there. That's actually for alpha map, and then you'll hit enter and we'll get our color. You can also slide to make color adjustments. And at some point I will put in a color picker that will let you select a color out by clicking on here. So now we can accept this. We've got our team branding set up. We'll call the team the Miners. And we'll just say Pittsburgh maybe. And then Tom Smith, for example. Okay, so now, well, let me just really quickly, let me just click Save Team, and now the team has been saved as the Miners. Okay, now what was it you wanted me to touch on?
Just to the right of the helmet where we have points limit, reserve points, active players. Just touch on what that means really quick.
So the points limit is going to be representative of the limits of the points when it comes to partially implemented and not yet implemented items, as they'll need to be explained. So for example, when the scouting is integrated into the game, when you are checking out the scouting, the draft pool, or certain members of the free agency, depending on where the players were coming from, their attributes will be hidden. You'll be able to use these points. Number one is a way of, I believe we're going to, some of this is already in a state of flux, I guess you could say. But essentially used to unhide certain attributes from certain players to give you more information about your draft picks, as well as to give you an idea of a general team strength when you are competing against other teams. The more points limit that the team is given in the league, the more their attribute points will be basically increased. That's a brief overview of what that will serve, as well as cost of the yearly salary and season games and so on and so forth. So right now it's just showing you how many points the team was used in generating the attributes and how many are actually left over.
Great.
Does that explain it? Okay.
Yes. And then there's 3,200 left over.
Yes.
So again, how you
Okay, so this, this would be a little bit out of, I think, the order of maybe necessarily something, but let's just go ahead and we'll just touch on a brief couple of items about being inside of the edit team window. Number one is the player grid that you have here. When you click on one of these, it's going to open up what we call the player attribute card. It'll give you a portrait. It'll give you some information about him. It will also give you his player jersey number and his string rank, which is used to determine various different aspects of the game, particularly with matchups and playbook instruction handling, etc.
Let me interrupt just really quick.
Sure.
I just wanted, because I know a couple of people who purchased the game yesterday, they asked where they go to edit their players and teams. Remember that what we've done here is basically created a league. It created us a to-be-determined team, which we then came back, opened up the league, opened up the team, and are now editing that team.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to go over briefly was how you could, and I'm not sure how long we're going to have this stream going for, but there will be a video. So essentially, setting up your skeleton league, having your friends upload, your league members upload their team to your server, and setting it up in such a way where you will remove it or deactivate, or you can even delete the NPC teams and start putting in your teams here as well, and how to edit those teams and how to actually set up your league with all of your own custom teams. The only caveat is right now, in order to schedule the season, you need to have 16 active teams, and this is just for scheduling purposes, but we'll be getting that in. So let's just quickly touch on how we would edit these players and how we can also lock this team as well to prevent anybody from bringing your team on and tampering with it or taking your plays or any of those kind of nefarious acts. So essentially what you'll do is you'll click on one of these entries here, and it will bring up the player attribute card to where you can edit these settings, simply by clicking the buttons. You'll hit the apply button, and we can see that we've actually brought up his stat. This relates to the reserve points. You can see that they actually get decreased here as we do it. So now we have 3145. We can also see that up here it updated to our new status. So we can go through here and redistribute some points as we would like to have them be redistributed. We can also remove points from maybe some of our inactive players here, for example, and get some of these points back, as you can see there.
And I'm going to be working on a detailed way of explaining to exactly how each position is affected by certain attributes. So that will be coming down hopefully by the end of the week. I'll have something nicely presented for you guys to have so you can understand how speed affects a running back, how strength plays into quarterback, and hands and feet and receivers and things like that. It's pretty intuitive, but I just want to give you guys an idea so that you know kind of when you're editing some of these players that, some people want to, maybe replicate an NFL team or something like that, which they're welcome to do, that if they want to put Dan Marino in here, how to maybe get Dan Marino in there.
There you go. Okay. So then, touching on the same subject here, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the lock team button. So when we click the lock team button, what we're doing is we're actually locking out the data for this team in terms of editing it and protecting it, so that if, for example, it's not that we would expect anybody to upload their team to somebody who's just going to go in there and turn all your players down to 5 so that he can say that he beat you or anything like that, but it keeps things nice and tidy. And when you click the lock team button, you'll get a password dialog, and you can just simply type in whatever password that you see fit, and you'll click the lock team button. Now what this does is, when somebody goes to open the team for editing, let's see here, the Miners edit, and we click, now we have a password dialog to which we can either enter the password or we can just click read only. If we click read only, now you can see that there is no longer any editability of any of these players. It's just basically read only view. You can change the edit mode here. This will, if you have the password, allow you to start editing. You can also simply reopen the team, click on it, and when you're prompted for the password, enter in the password, uncheck read only, and now we're back to being able to edit our team. As long as we're here, in certain cases, if you're the league owner, you can create a player and add him to the team using the add player. It gives you the option to randomly generate him a name. Obviously his player number is going to be based off of his position, and this should be a drop down. So that will be happening. You can select the position that you want him to be, as well as his subtype, whether he's a left or a right. Basically set your options, your attributes, and his height, weight, age will be randomly generated. And you hit the add button and you're good to go. The reassign plays button, we should come to visit this later on. This is going to take a player who's maybe in any number of given plays, and will basically, you can substitute out other players when injuries occur and you need to adjust your playbooks. This will be where you actually do so. For the moment, this team here does not have a playbook, so we can't do very much with reassigning plays at this point. It might seem obvious, but just in case it isn't. Yeah, so another thing is, let's just take a quick look at the create button here. If we click the create team button, what we can do is get some predetermined items in here, randomly generated. You can give it a stadium name if you like. So we can maybe call this the Shipyard, for example. You know, we can go through here again. We can start randomizing different branding items. And then when we hit create, it will create. And in this context of creating the team here, it will automatically generate players for that team, as opposed to you having to draft players into that team. So we can see here that we have a brand new team, fully populated. Again, the points limit here really isn't quite as it doesn't quite figure in very strongly into the actual playability of the game at this point. However, it will very soon. Let's just say that. Okay, so we've got a couple of teams here. Now let's go back to the Manage Teams browser, because what we've done here is we've added a couple of teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 active teams. But let's say we want to actually activate a new team here. We want to have the Destroyers play in this season and be a part of this league. So we'll activate the Destroyers here by hitting the toggle status button, and we can see that now he's active. But now we have 17 active teams, so we have to pick a team to deactivate. Let's deactivate the Reapers. How about that? So now the Reapers have become to an inactive state. And depending on how many of these teams that you activate or deactivate, we can create ourselves a little bit of a mess with regards to their conference placements. So we have a fix for that. Basically what you'll do is you'll click this Reset League Conference. This will give you a warning that it's just going to reset everything. You don't want to do this while you're already in the middle of a season. We hit OK. We've got our correct number of teams that are active for this league. And we'll be getting into what that really means here very shortly. Let's see here. We have the delete button. Let's just talk about the delete button real quick. If we have a team we want to get rid of, we'll just simply use this delete button. We'll click delete. Now, just to be careful and minded about it, deleting a team is a very destructive thing to do. So you're not really going to want to do this in leagues where historical stats are important to you. You can always simply just deactivate a team and just leave it out, you know, for the rest of whatever. But really, this is supposed to be used for if you've brought in a couple of guys' teams just for some one-off games and you want to resize your database, you can just go ahead and delete them, and it'll clean everything up for you. So we could delete the team just like that, and the team is gone. So I think that actually kind of really covers it for some of the basics of hitting on the team management window. So what we can do now is start talking about the, let me think. What do you think? Should we talk about getting into the season play already, or should we?
We should probably move on to, for a half an hour in.
Okay.
Let's move on to create a playbook. Some of the stuff that goes in the playbook. We come out, show the scheduling, and then we can go back to show the one-offing a game versus simulating a game. But let's go into the playbook development a little bit right now.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. So
you can see that they can also edit their team from that section, but really they have to have that team created from the league first, and then they can edit.
Sure, okay. Yep. All right, so we go back to the main menu. And where we do a vast majority of our play management is going to be in the coordinator's office. Once we're here, we're basically in the play design editor mode. We're going to open the league. And at this point in time, now we've got some information talking about the league that's open, but that we have no team loaded and no playbook loaded. So let's start with the basics. Again, we have an edit team button here, which will give us this dialog. And we can then select a team to edit. Let's just to show you what that looks like. It looks very much like the team edit window that we had already seen. However, we don't do anything with setting contracts or dealing anything to do with team administration. Here, this is really more of just if you have a...
This is the play design. This is where we're going to
This is the play design, and more for your own single player. If you're trying to tweak yourself, if let's say, here's the best example that I can come up with for why you might want to use this is like, let's say you really are trying to set up some prior seasons of leagues that you want to. Here you can really get into editing your team's attributes. And it doesn't really take necessarily into consideration anything to do with anything other than editing stats and then being able to reflect those stats in your plays. So, you know, like if you are trying to emulate some particular player, you know, you could adjust some of these stats as you're going and see if he starts performing the way you feel like this particular player should be performing. Whereas in the season mode or in the franchise mode, things are intended to be a little bit more based off of your ability to scout and draft and everything, not so much just going in here and changing stats on your players. So that's the idea here. So then, again, you can add a player. You can also reassign plays and all of the same functionality that we had in the prior menu. We're going to use Open Team to actually open a team to edit their playbook with. So we'll take the Destroyers, we'll open them, and we've loaded in their first string players, but we have not yet created any playbooks for them. And again, some of these videos are broken down a little bit more in the tutorial, basic tutorial, but we'll just cover it briefly here. So I'm just going to quickly add a new playbook. We'll just call it Destroyers Playbook. And what I'm going to do here is uncheck the empty playbook. I want to have some plays created and added to the playbook. So now we've got our playbook. I double click it to open it, and I've got my rudimentary 12 or 14 plays. There are no past plays, nor is there a whole comprehensive set of plays in here. This really is not intended to be, I think, a situation where, you know, you can just load in a whole bunch of already created plays and start playing. This gives you what you would need, right? You know, to run the simulator on it, and you could probably get pretty decent results. But really, what the goal is here is for you to design your plays so that you can run them against the other team. So there's not a lot here other than just the starting skeleton of a playbook. right? I mean, that's how we're. I mean, would you say
the
that?
main thing
Would
is,
you say that
remember,
that's?
it's out draft, out design, out coach. That's our motto. So we want everybody to be able, draft the players. We want those players to mean something. And then, we want, it's not plug and play, we want it, nobody wants to sit there and design a punt play or a kickoff. So we put those in there just so that you wouldn't have to go through all the special teams work in order to go start testing out your teams in an actual on-field thing. But you are going to have to sit there and design some runs, design a few passes and a couple of defenses, and it really gets you, I think, the blood flowing, the juices flowing, where that creativeness, especially on the field, not in the simulator mode, which we'll show you in a little bit, but on the field where your PCA and your and the play design themselves are actually going to come in and actually be affected by what you created, more so than just having a tabletop version in the simulator. And so we'll show you a couple of plays, and we'll just explain some of the instructions that they have. We're not going to go, again, there's a detailed tutorial on creating a running play and a detailed tutorial on creating a pass play as well as defense. I just want to go over why, because some people are trying to load it and play right away. And really what you got to do is you really can't with your own team. You could use just the default teams and play the Scorpions against the Reapers and watch that play out because they have full functioning playbooks. But for your team, you're going to need to sit down, spend a few hours creating some plays and things like that. And again, when you start playing your plays against other people's plays, you'll see it's very competitive and the juices really get flowing there. So why don't we just go to a couple of plays, we'll explain some of what's going on there, and we can show them a few of the directions.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. Let's just start by starting with some of the basics here and going over this stuff that's actually already outlined in the very basic tutorials that we have, but just to briefly go over them here so that they can be indexed into the main thing. But essentially, you'll have a playbook here with the plays off to your side. Off to your, what I call the right panel. So you have a playbooks tab, a plays tab, and a templates tab. So obviously here from the playbooks, we can manage with and sort of deal with our playbooks as they're coming around. The other thing is, from here, we can put a play into the play field. So, for example, let's just filter out some offensive plays by clicking the offensive checkbox. Grab the offensive run. I just double-clicked it. You can also use these buttons to load in a play. So let me filter on the defense, grab a run play from the defense, and then let me load it in. Boom.
And quickly, just so you know, you do have to have an offense and a defense loaded to be able to edit the plays. So if you're wondering why you can't edit a play, you have to have the offense and the defense loaded at the same time.
Yes. So until you actually have an offense loaded and a defense loaded, you cannot interact with the drawing board, as it were. Let me see here. So now that we've got play loaded in, they're ready for editing. Over here in the left panel, we have the lineup that we can select, and it'll also highlight the player in the field. We can also now click a player in the field, and we highlight into the left panel that selected player. We have some stats on him. We also have the instruction tab. The instruction tab has a couple of windows. One, it has a instruction list here.
And there's a player's guide, just interrupt so that we can
Yep.
I have a player's guide on the It's on the website. It's also, I posted in the Steam. I will repost that in Discord, actually. That really goes over all of these instruction symbols and what they do and how they do, so that we don't have to sit here and kind of go over that right now, because we really want to just get you guys up and running. Again, all that's there. We have the tutorials on all that, so we will go into further details. And of course, always ask us questions on Discord and things like that. But there is full talking about all of that stuff there. So
yeah. And also, again, everything having to do with actually clicking on these buttons, selecting these players, creating plays, deleting plays, and all that. There's a basics tutorial list that has all of this information already in there. But it does not go into the theories of what a run defense would be versus a pass defense and all of that nonsense. It doesn't touch on those topics. All right. So anyway, moving beyond that. So I'm panning around the field here by holding down my middle mouse button, and I'm selecting players by left clicking on them. And when you want to move a player to a different position, I'm control left click dragging. And the center is a special case. He does not move with a simple control. You actually have to control alt click him to move him. It's not recommended that you do move him for regular plays. And by regular, I mean your non-special teams. Yeah, exactly. What else? So yeah, basically, let me just reload this plane real quick.
Show the templates so that they can understand the templates.
I was going to hit the practice field real quick and then move on to the templates. Okay, so now that we've got our plays loaded, we want to see how they run. Here in the file menu, we have the practice play, and it will load in these plays into the practice field. You can achieve that same effect by hitting Control F. Little caveat is that when you hit Control F, your cursor should be over the field somewhere when you hit that Control F. If you attempt to do it and you're not over it, it doesn't register that that's what you're trying to do. Then from here, we have several buttons at the bottom of the practice field. This play button will run the play. The stop button will actually stop the AI scripts from running and will basically deaden the play where it stands with no result. The next button over will reset the play. Formations and instructions and everything like that. Now, just to show you, when I'm saying reset here, to be specific, if I move this wide receiver over and then I run the play and then I stop and reset, notice he's still where I had just moved him back, or moved him to. So when it resets it to where you are in the development of your play, which makes iterative play adjustments a very effective thing to do. So you can run it, be like, okay, so he's not going, so I'll go back and I'll just pull him back a little bit. Boom, now he catches it, you see? So this is sort of the idea on how to develop your play routes. Use Control F to switch back and forth. Bring your players along, quickly reset your instructions, and it'll become a sort of a smooth flowing process. So now that briefly touches on that. Again, let's leave the like, oh, okay, well, to remove an instruction, we'll click here and click the X. So that removes an instruction. There's already videos that will tell you all about that. ready to go on the tutorial site. Let's talk about quickly setting up a play template. So when we come over to the templates tab, we've got a few templates here that are shipped with the game. And again, these are just your most basic of templates.
Again,
So let me just reopen this team here so that everything is kind of cleared out.
One real quick thing, the templates are there just so that you don't have to, again, sit there and drag everybody into a special formation. Is that all our templates right there? We don't have, like, where's the, like, the three?
Yeah, this is all the templates.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
maybe because I'm looking at the thing. Anyway, go ahead, Jeff. I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, so let's just start with the basics of the template. For one thing, let's just talk about selecting a template, and then the furthermost left button is a preview selected template. So if I click it, or if I double click one of the templates, I will be able to preview that template with what it does. And you can do the same thing, obviously, with offense and defense. So this is what the defense template looks like. So we have a edit template button, which let's go ahead and just touch on that quickly. Again, these are all covered in the basics videos, but this will allow me essentially to rename the template and then make a check mark or uncheck mark excuse me, on this default. If this default value is set to true, or rather if this playbook default is set to true, when you create a new playbook here, and I select non-empty playbook, any template play that's selected here as true will appear as an applied play in your playbook, the default one that you created. If you don't want a play to appear in the playbook when you create a default, simply uncheck the word default here, hit accept, and now it's set to false. So now if you create a new playbook here and you have this unchecked, it won't add that play to the playbook. Make sense?
And one thing, you don't need to use the templates. You can create a play from
Correct.
an already
You
loaded
can
play.
create a play from scratch, and you would do so by using this new play button, give it a name, offense or defense, a regular or special plays, and then the type that it is. And if it's a special, it will contextually switch the selections based therewith. So what we can do now is actually, for example, let's just say run. Here we select it. The next button over gives us a new play from the template, providing a new name for the play. So this will be new run play 1. Hit OK. Okay, so new play run play 1 has been added. It resets the field positioning and everything to reinitialize and calibrate all of the positions in case you've had something set for your practice field where you were maybe on a different yard line, for example, different hash mark. And we can see right down here in the lower corner that we have loaded that play into play. So now what we can do is load in a run defensive play, for example. Go to the practice field and we can see that our play has been created. And it's it's templated. It gives you a skeletal layout. It doesn't take a whole lot of work to get you started. Now you can start tweaking this to make it your own, or you can start really going crazy with your formations and all of that. Let's see here. Another thing that you can do that I'll just briefly touch on that is also already touched on is when you have a play loaded into your team, we can come over to the templates click the New from Play button. You know what? Actually, we don't even have to have them loaded. This has been updated. You don't even have to have them loaded. You simply select the play from this browser that you would like. You can automatically check off this playbook default column here and give it a new name. Something like new run template. Something like that. Hit create. And then it adds it in there and adds it to the database so that now we actually have this new run template set up. So there's the punt, and then here's the new run template. So we just took and made a template from an existing play that we created. So you can create a play from scratch and then template that out. So now you can actually start adding these into your different playbooks. And you know, one of the things that I think is going to be pretty cool coming up coming up soon enough is that you'll be able to move these templates from league to league. You know, there won't be the database separation between that. You'll be able to import them over so that you can, you know, so if you're setting up separate leagues or separate playbooks, teams, and whatever, there will be a lot of flexibility in bouncing these things back and forth from file to file. Then, of course, you've got your delete template button. Okay, so I think, well, just another thing real quick is when you run in a play in the practice field, two things. One, the play result will give you the outcome of the play. Very straightforward. You can clear it by clicking the trash can. And then finally, down at the bottom row, touching on these buttons again, there are hotkeys for these that make it a bit more easy to run. So the R will run the play. And here it looks like I must have moved the center or something like that on my new play. Let me load in one that's going to be a good play here. Oop. There we go. It would help if I actually, let's see, there we go. Boom. Okay. All right, so so the R button will run the play, the T button will stop the play, and the Y button will reset the play. The eyeball button, clicking this will simply hide the side panels so that if you're really zoomed in, they don't obscure your view. The X button leaves the practice field. And then we have a couple of other little buttons.
Let's move on to the PC. We're at an hour. Let's move on to the PCA. There's all this in tutorials about those buttons.
Yeah, that's fine. Here. Okay, so let's just briefly talk about the PCA real quick. So let's just reopen the league to start from scratch. Let's reopen a team. And then let's go ahead and open the playbook. So from here we can click the Edit the PCA button. If you, I think that's probably from the previous, let's see. Basically what you're going to want to do is come to here. Looked like it had a play loaded into it already, but that's all right. We'll open the play. We'll open the. I'm loading the play here, and then what we're gonna do is load in the run offense. All right. So, do you want to give a brief explanation about what a PCA does, and then we can figure out if we need to be like, here's how you set it. We'll slide it over.
Okay, so ultimately the PCA is calling your play in the game. I think I touched on this somewhere in the Steam about it. The key parts that you're going to want to do is, number one, understand that everything is weighted here. So just because you have this play in there, unless you only had 10 plays and you had it all set up specifically to call each time, you're going to have groups of plays that are still not going to get called all the time. That's part of the beauty of everything. But we're going to start off with field position. So you can set a play to be called anywhere from the goal line to the goal line. Then you're going to have I'm on a little bit of a delay here, so if we can go back to that first page.
I'm back to the first page.
Okay, I'm just waiting for it to pop up on my screen. So you're going to have, you set it first down, second down, third down, fourth down, and then the leg down, which is actually your special down, that's going to be for everything from field goals, two-point conversions, two-point conversions, and free kicks, and those things. The fourth down will be for everything else, punts, field goals, and any other kind of play. So you can change exactly where you want to have specific things on the field position. Then you go over to, and everything ties in together. Field position, yards to go. You can go from anywhere from 0 to, as you can see, the checkbox is unlimited, or you can set it to a max 7, 5, whatever you want that particular play to be called in. Then you have your hash marks. Again, you might have an outside pass or whatever you've got going on an outside run, and you might not want to be calling an outside run to the right on the right hash, so you may only want to have that set to the left or the middle hash. Then on the next page, and I'll wait for that to get loaded. I think we're on about a 6-second delay.
Yeah, it was
here.
a six seconds. Should be showing up now.
And then we have our game time. And so again, the game time, we have it by quarter and 2 minutes left in the half. So the first quarter is a full 15 minutes, second quarter is 13 minutes, and then 2 minutes. So again, your play is going to get called in those time frames. So you can have it, you can mix and match it however you want. Then it also ties into the quarters by the score situation. So as you can see, this becomes a giant puzzle piece. Do I want to play when I am only being called on, let's just say you're down by 20 points with 10 minutes left in the first, or in the game. You're probably not going to be wanting to run a bunch of running plays. So maybe you'll have all your running plays turned off if you're down in the fourth quarter, but you're still going to have those same running plays called in the first, second, and third quarters when you're losing, winning, etc. So it all starts to tie together. And I'm going to do a very detailed strategy on how you can really manipulate the PCA to the best of your ability. Because there are some tricks of the trade, such as creating some multiple plays, creating one-off specific plays, and turning everything else off so that you know that play is going to get called in that specific situation. Then on the final page, and again I have to wait for it to update, but basically it's going to be, was the play successful, was the play unsuccessful, how much do I want to weigh that down, what's the percentage I want to have it called. So again, we're first going to say, we're going to call this play, if I'm a more run-oriented team, I'm probably going to run 70% of the time on first down. So I'm going to set all my run plays to be called on first down 70%, and I'm going to have all my pass plays called 30%. Or I could have it 50-50. I could have it 100-100. It's just going to have a more difficult time finding that particular play. And you can also do it play specific. You don't have to have all your plays set to the same PCA and or even the play call frequency. Moving on to the coaching adjustments, that's where I was talking about the success. So yards gained, if it's greater than or equal to X amount, I'm going to increase the call percentage by X amount of percent. Or I'm going to decrease it if it failed. Yards gained, let's just say I want to always average, let's just say I consider a 4-yard run my Mendoza line. So if I gain 4 yards or more, I'm going to increase this thing by, let's just say 5%. Go to the failure. If I ran for fewer than 3 yards, I'm going to decrease it by X amount of percent. What I like to do is reward things for more success. So I might set this to 5 yards and have a failure rate of 3 yards. That way 4 yards is it's remaining the same with the adjustment. Defense, even though we're talking about right plays, defense is basically the same. Yards allowed versus yards allowed. So the fewer the yards allowed, obviously that's going to be success. The more yards allowed, that's going to be failure. We don't have this incorporated yet, but what you will start to see in league play is usage statistics. How this play, how many times you've used it, the average yards it's gained or given up at the defense, its completion percentage, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be able to go into your playbook and see how your plays are actually performing. You can have, there's a notes section there to say, all right, this play works well against XYZ team. This play doesn't work against whatever your notes you want to have. Again, I think let's click on multiple as I talk about this next very important aspect of the PCA and the play calling and play naming.
Here, let me open one of the default teams for that because this team doesn't have enough to make that thing work.
Just open up the Scorpions or something.
Let's do the Bandits.
That's fine. Bandits are fine. Because play naming is because one of the things you'll find is that setting a PCA play by play is awesome, but when you have 20, 50, 80, 100 plays and you want to change the PCA on them.
All right, I have it up for. Let me know when the delay starts.
You're going to need an excellent naming system so that you can make it, because one change and you hit multiple and apply that to everything, it changes every single play. So if you had a pass play, Doug, if you can go to a pass play on the offense, that would be great. Just load up all the pass plays so they can see the naming system.
All right, 1 second. Oh, hold on. So one of the things about the PCA multiple window is that you can only cross apply plays of the same type. So give me 1 second to open this up. We've got our passing play open. All right, so just any old passing play?
Any pass play. I just need to show them the naming system.
Okay, well here's one right here.
Okay. All right, so then go to multiple. Yeah. I need to show them the whole thing.
The whole thing being
the screen. Yeah, just go. Okay, so if you notice at the very end of all these plays, there's a number, 18, 20, 25, 1, 10, 11, 10. That is telling me where the farthest receiver is running. So that when I go through and do multiple PCA, I know that if I select all my 10s, I can shorten the field to know that I can run this play anywhere between the one goal line and basically, let's just say the 5-yard line to be safe, because plus 10, that would put me in about 5 yards deep in the end zone. If I did that same PCA application on a goal line pass, and I didn't know how far my receivers were running, I might accidentally select a play that runs them out of the back of the end zone, and that's not going to be any good. So because you're able to apply this to multiple plays, you're going to want to know exactly where your players are on the field. Running is a lot easier because pretty much your running back is going to be there. Maybe for a draw play or something like that, you might be okay. But for the most part, on your passing plays, please know, come up with a naming system where you know how far down the field your receivers are going to be running, so that you're not calling bombs when you're on the 10-yard line. Likewise, defensively, you want to know how far back your secondary is, because again, you don't want to have a goal line defense with your secondary dropping 15 yards back, because they're going to be dropping back out of the end zone and you're going to be losing people on your play, so it's going to give up more plays. So then basically, you have that, and all you would do is just, you would have one main play that you would select as your, you did a play, and then you would just select all the plays here that you want to apply that PCA to. We're not going to actually do it to this, and it would change all of your highlighted plays that you move over there to have the same exact PCA. So this is a great way, again, to take all your slants and give them the same PCA. All your bombs, give them the same PCA. All your run plays, give them all the same PCA. Alter them from week to week, whatever you want to do. It just makes it so that you don't have to tediously go through a 75 play playbook week to week and adjust the PCA one at a time. So use it to your advantage. And these also get called in the simulator, just so you know. Again, the simulator will run out. Everything is based on the simulator. The only thing that's different is you're not going to have it play out on the field. So the simulator will take a play based on the 70% called on first down. It'll take a running play. It'll take a passing play. It will know roughly how far down your players are at some point, et cetera, et cetera. And so again, PCA doesn't matter for the simulator. So get those things, working pretty good.
Nice.
That's PCA. All right, so now we've got the playbook pretty much done.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, migrating plays, I've already got those basic tutorials, already got this kind of information in there. Just for the interest of time, let's just briefly go over maybe scheduling.
Let's schedule the thing, show them the season, show them the simulator, and then we can show them running their team, a new team against their thing, and just seeing that.
Okay.
Although I think most of them have already figured that out. So, but yeah, once you've created all your plays, you can have a full stock team over there, and then get these computer teams.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about managing the season real quick. Basically, the season is going to be, obviously, you're scheduling the teams that are involved. There's only a couple of parameters right now that you have to worry about entering in. One is a year, and then you can give a note, whatever you want it to be, however whimsical it is. Then you're going to hit the schedule button. Now, I have an error here, and I knew that this error was going to occur because I have not 16 active teams, and right now my algorithm is only able to auto schedule a 16-team league. This is going to be increased, and then also, the possibility of being able to schedule out your own leagues manually will be available. Excuse me. So let me go ahead and just back out, and let me just go ahead and go to my manage teams, and then ensure that I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 15 active teams. Let's go ahead and reactivate the Reapers. So I'll toggle the status, and then I'm going to just go ahead and reset the conference placements. I'm done. Go back to manage season 2022, season the first, schedule, and now it's going to generate the 2022 schedule. Now from here, we can come back into the managed season. We see now that we have our season. If I click it, we will have just a overview of the current standings. And then we can click this delete button if we want to clear it out for whatever reason. Just note that only one running season is actually allowed, so you can see right now we cannot schedule another season since this one is already underway. Now let's just take a quick look at the schedule. So the first button under schedule is the team schedule, and this will bring us to a team-based schedule. In this case, we're looking at the Miami Breeze for the 2022 season. We can also view season history as they occur by selecting a different season. And we can also see what other scheduled games that we have are available here on the per week basis. We also have a weekly schedule, and now we can see what games are scheduled for a particular week. So there's week 2, there's week 17, and then you can see the historical. And of course, you'll see the record and the score, the resultant score for that game. There's the playoffs brackets, again, historical as well. This will populate as required. And the final entry in the schedule menu is the game simulator. So when you have a season scheduled, you can simulate any number of the games using our tabletop algorithms and the playbook data generated for that team. To run a simulation, all you have to do is select a game, and then you can hit the start button. I'll just hit it real quick so we can see it. It looks like the Reapers are running away with it, but at least the Grave Robbers aren't getting skunked. Oh, maybe skunking isn't the right word. Nevertheless, we have now run the game. You can select multiple games by control clicking, and then you would non-control click to deselect. You can cancel a game that's in progress by hitting the cancel button. Now, if you terminate and cancel a game, all of the statistical data and any other record data is deleted immediately. So, what you'll want, this is also part of the protection against any crashes. Your data is saved on a step-by-step basis in the playing game, so that very little statistical data is ever going to be affected by some kind of technical mishap. And that, I think, about covers the season and the simulator. So let's just quickly take a look at the stadium. I go into the stadium from the main menu, and then from here again I open my league. I now have let me just touch on this view menu first before we get into the obvious stuff, for example, new game. Here in the view menu, and this is a little bit more of an obscure thing, we have the play log, and this little line down here will give you the current play, the play that had just executed result status. So we've opened a league. If we want to just start an ad hoc game, we can come into here and just simply select the teams and the playbooks that we would want to have them play. Basically hit OK. We'll get into the coin toss, and we can hit OK on that. and the game will get underway and thus begin, and we'll see a kickoff. And we'll watch the play execute. At this point in time now, if we click on the file menu, we can open a league, we can cancel a game. I'll hit the cancel.
Show them the camera angles too, quickly.
Good point. Let's talk about the camera angles real quick. So this is the default view. It's an overhead view, left to right, using the numbers keys across the top of the keyboard. If you hit 2, you will have a ball follow camera number 1. You can have ball follow camera number 2 if you hit the 3 key, which hits it from the other side. If you have 4, it's a ball camera follow view from one end of the field, and 5 is from the other end of the field.
And we may work on some of these camera angles to give a...
Eventually there'll be a little something of a camera director that will try to give you some cool shots, some zoom ins, and some little bit of eye candy. And then you have a couple of other cameras that are, some of these are still, under development.
One day we might get a fan in the stands as well. Just one.
The fans
in
the
one. It all starts with one.
It all starts with one fan. It all starts with one, right? So from here, I'll hit the 1 key, get back into the overhead view. You can use the left, right click, mouse wheel to pan. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom. You can really get in there and really sort of, follow it. But let's cancel the game. It's now saved, which will bring us to the continue game menu. And you can see that we have this game. It gives you a little brief rundown of the current state of where you are. So we can see that we are at a tie game with no score. First quarter, 8 minutes into the quarter, left in the quarter. First down, Grave Robbers 8. The Grave Robbers have the ball. And we can continue the game right from where we left off. And then we can re-cancel it. And then we can go here into our... Oh, interesting. It didn't cancel that game out. I wonder why. Huh. Whoop. It's live TV. So let's go back into there real quick. Open League season game. So here's the season game browser. These are the games that were scheduled. And all you really have to do is click 1. Hit the start button, and then select the playbooks that the required teams need to have. Go ahead.
Real quick, just so everybody's on the same page. This one-off game or just running a game, you're not going to generate any stats other than at the halftime stats and things like that. The season game,
that's not entirely the case. It doesn't factor into your season stats.
So that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
The off games don't really matter. That's not what the stat gurus out there. You have to run a season game for it to generate your league season stats, where all the teams are part of the whole. If you just play your team against the Grave Robbers as a new game, that's just a one-off. There's not a separate section for you to see all the extra stats on that. Am I correct? On that one game?
No, not
right.
Not currently.
Right. So if you want to have all your stats generated and play a season, you have to do a season at this moment. Right now, the new game is really just to just play some games with and whatnot like that. That's just for fun.
Well, I see what you're saying. Well, you can't. You do get stats, okay, But where they are is in a slightly different area, which we didn't actually get to quite yet. But now that we've touched on that, let's go ahead and get back to the league management menu. And then let's open the league. And now we can go into this third section, which has the game recap. The game recap games list will only show completed games, and you'll only have recaps saved for games that are played on the field. This game was simulated, so we don't have any recap to show at this point. Now, the statistics here, this is where I think we were, what it was that we were just actually talking about. And we can see that we have stats season checked off here versus all. Now, stats are only recorded by completed game, so we don't have any game other than the simulated game completed. But what, to Derek's point, if you have the all category selected, it will include those stats from the one-off games. But they're not filtered out. They're not filtered out from the season games. So that will be in a very soon release as well. The borders between games run one-off. You can see the stats from that, or you can see the stats from all one-off run games, or you can see season stat games. So there will be the barriers between the stats. Yeah. Does that clear it up?
I hope so.
All right. Well, if there's any further questions about it, just is there any questions in the chat?
Nope.
Okay. I guess that means that we've all mastered it.
All right.
So, I'm wondering if there's really anything else. The draft. Or do we want to maybe do another one?
No, we'll do a separate thing on the draft. We're at an hour and a half now, so let's. I think that gets people up and running.
Yeah. All right.
So,
yep. That sounds good.
Listen,
so if there's any questions in the chat, then we can hit them up real quick. Or if they're not, then we can just go ahead and sign off.
Yeah, I would assume that there would be some things in the chat, and I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm going to assume people are good to go. So we can probably sign off. Again, we'll do another live stream next week, maybe Wednesday. Talk to some of you guys, see what maybe if there's anything you want us to cover specifically. But maybe we'll answer some of the questions we've gotten feedback-wise, and maybe just do a little Q&A session is probably what we'll do. So, all right. Well, we really appreciate it. Thanks again for everybody's support, and spread the word. We're really looking forward to bringing something to the market that everybody is interested to play. So,
all right then, sounds good. We'll talk to you later.